Hello everyone, and welcome to Season 1, Episode 2 of Star Trek Kasumi. This is a Lost Era game of Star Trek Adventures, and if you're not familiar with Star Trek Adventures, it's a really great role playing game by Motivius Entertainment. Would recommend. But you don't need to hear from me because I'm eager to get started with the game. So why don't we just quickly go around, have everyone introduce themselves, and we'll go right into play. So let's start with the captain.
Hello, I am Professor Hex, and I play the captain of the Kasumi, Chiasakaya. The end.
There you go. Let's do Trawl next.
Hi everyone, I'm Alex. I'm playing Lieutenant Commander Giral, the ship's security chief.
Hello, everyone. My name is Matthew. I play Dr. Talia Shrev, the civilian science consultant, an Andorian/Enar.
Hey, I'm Peter. I play Nabak, the chief of the boat on the Kasumi.
And of course, if you don't know me by now, I'm ELH the Game Master. And today, I believe, Captain, you have an opening log for us. So...
that's you. You're ELH. Okay.
Right. Yeah.
Sorry, I'm glad you clarified that. Yes, I do have a captain's log. Am I allowed to read it?
Yes.
Okay. Good. All right. Captain's log, Chiasakaya of the USS Kasumi recording, stardate 15283.5. Now that the Prot incident has been dealt with, not to my satisfaction, mind you, as all efforts to elegantly handle Mr. Porter's issues of self-determination and security have been stymied by our mysterious Starfleet overlords. And of course, I'm not prepared to essentially kidnap a mental patient this early in my command of this vessel. The Kasumi is now heading towards a previously uncharted M-class planet after a long layover at Omicron Theta. The outpost stay has rendered our many halls and rooms positively stuffed with highly qualified, intelligent, professional crewmates ready to stumble through the ship for hours at a time, searching for a bloody toilet. An interesting psychological experiment, at the very least. Not long ago, our sensors detected a verteron burst in the vicinity of our target, most likely meaning wormhole ahoy in the technical parlance. This will be our first investigation into these distant, murky waters. And though I know on paper we're up to the task, it's an altogether different kraken you're wrestling when you're out here under your own power, with no one but your fellow mates to lean on. After all, deep space has a nasty habit of whittling you down to your truest self, and sometimes that truth is terrifying to behold. Note to self, schedule a session with Councillor Davy to work out whatever dark shite is still sloshing around my brain lately. The Darjeeling hasn't washed it out, like usual. Be good, children. Kaya, out.
Nice, and you may have one momentum for that opening log. So, today's first scene is actually going to be in one of the many laboratories aboard the Kasumi. Now, like many labs in the Kasumi, this one in particular is specifically designed for all things astronavigational, physics, and anything of that nature. And we sort of zoom into this laboratory where we only see Nabak at first. And Nabak, you're of course, working away, looking at the planet scans on long range. When, after about maybe a minute, 2 minutes, a person stumbles, runs in. I'm going to let Matthew flavor that one.
Yes, so roughly 2-3 minutes after the scheduled meeting time in the morning consultation, Dr. Shrev stumbles in through the door. Her clothing is somewhat unkempt, as if she's dressed in a hurry. Her hair somewhat of a mess, and she is holding in hand a large mug of some unidentifiable liquid, and she sort of stumbles in through the door. Chief, I'm so sorry. You can see that her eyes are slightly unfocused as she raises a hand to her temple. I'm sorry, I was just having a bit of a late morning today. I apologize once again. Have you begun the research into our modified sensors?
No worries at all, Doctor. These things happen. Is there anything I could do for you at all? I do have a bit of medicine in my background.
Oh, well, that's probably the worst thing you could have said. I'm not particularly fond of doctors, but...
Well, I'm not a doctor. I fix ships for the most part, but...
I do appreciate the kind offer. It's just the implants are acting up again. You understand?
Ah, well, that is unfortunate, but hopefully we can get through this.
Well, the Vithi tea tends to help. It's not really something that should alleviate any pain, but positive memories, good associations, it always boosts the mood at least.
Well, then we shall try to create some today, shall we?
Well, lead the way. You're the one who's probably helped to install these enhanced sensor relays. I'm just the one who uses them, so please.
Well, I had a hand in some of the finalization, but not the actual installation of them. But anyway, I did begin the scans. Mostly I was just going through the power up and system diagnostics phases, just trying them out, as it were. This is one of the first times that we've actually been able to turn them on. And, well, since I thought it might be a little exciting, I was in fact waiting for you to hit the button.
I appreciate the consideration. Although, in the future, don't trouble yourself for me, and just continue to do your work. And, well, I wouldn't want my own personal difficulties to impede the operation of the ship.
Well, personal difficulties be what they are, but, we are all part of the ship, and so all part of a family, as it were. And so if there's any way that those can meld together and work together to the improvement of both, it's always a good thing. But onto the sensors then.
Of course. And Jessica, no, the captain's not there. Dr. Shrev will take a seat alongside Nabok. Her antennae, almost plastered into her hair, almost disappeared into the tangle of white locks. Take a sip from her tea, and then join Nabok into the... sorry, what's that?
Nothing. I'm good. Go ahead.
Okay, that's right. And join him in the analysis of the sensors.
So, sensor scan is going to be a very easy roll. It's going to be a reason science assisted by the Kasumi's sensors science. Difficulty on this is only a 0, so free momentum as long as you don't roll complications.
All right. We both roll in this one, or?
You can assist one another on this if you wish.
I'll take the sensors, and then Bach can...
The last time we saw what my fingers on the ship sensors did, so we'll see what happens.
Sensor science?
Sensor science indeed. And we already have one complication off the field. All right, hey, that's still 2 successes. So you are up to 4 momentum. So, Nabok, you're going to learn pretty much everything in that handout. And because it is a high-resolution sensors grid that you're using, that talent does give you a free question to ask in additional to what you get. However, the complication is going to be that once you get all this information, the sensors, at least the high-resolution ones, immediately go offline.
Great.
Well, Chief, it seems that you were right to defer responsibility for the installation of the sensors to, I guess, the workers at Space Dock.
Apparently, haven't worked out all the bugs, I guess. Something to write down on a pad and bring down to engineering.
Nonetheless, we have actually managed to accumulate a great deal of data about this fascinating planet.
Yes. It's The planet, let's see, pulling up the information, it's classified as H3M9. Not very interesting,
Not nearly so much as the verteron bursts themselves. They seem
Exactly.
almost periodic.
Yes. Regular
I wonder if this might be
occurrence.
an indication of some kind of intelligence behind it. It could be some kind of code. Might that be possible? I don't have much experience out here, but
It's a possible thing that it could be intelligence, but there are some natural phenomena that sometimes will transmit verteron pulses in a way that might make us think that there's intelligence, but there isn't. But I like to entertain the possibility.
I suppose that's entirely true. I mean, pulsars, radio emissions might be mistaken for some kind of repeated signal or transmission, but obviously
Indeed.
that's merely a natural phenomenon. Maybe that's just my own excitement at being out in the stars.
Unless, of course, all pulsars are, in fact, alien intelligences attempting to reach us.
It's not beyond the realm of possibility, I suppose, but probably a little bit too fanciful for a stolid and reasonable Starfleet crew.
Oh, indeed, Doctor. I was merely, what's the human phrase? Pulling your leg.
Actual galaxy brain thinking at work.
I wouldn't use that expression around the captain for obvious reasons, but
That is why, if you notice, she is not here.
well,
But the verterons are pulsing regularly. We do have to keep an eye on the concentration, though. I'm not sure how familiar you are with verterons, but they can, in high concentrations, pose potential hazards to vessels, as we have seen, sometimes obstructing sensors.
and
I don't know that that's what caused it, but
that is indeed a possibility. They can also interfere with the operations of engines. Given my
Yes.
familiarity with subspace displacement waves, I believe that the disruption to the impulse manifolds and plasma coils would cause a potential shutdown of the warp matrix.
yes, it would make creating a warp field near impossible. So it would behoove us greatly to not have an overload of verteron particles around the ship.
I wonder if there's any way in which we could modify either the main deflector or the shields themselves to protect us from a buildup of verteron particles.
Now that's an interesting idea, Doctor. Why don't we try that?
I believe that's your realm of expertise.
Well, you can take some credit. It was your idea.
Theory into
So-
practice, as it were.
So, what is your free question before we move on to
Oh,
any
right.
sort of engineering type things?
Uh,
And then that's for the group. Like, if anyone in the group has that question, feel free to metagame a little here.
yeah.
I suppose one possible question could be, can we localize the source of the emissions on the planet?
Mm-hmm.
Coming from a specific sector or...
Yeah, yeah.
Or another possible question, I'm not saying that's the one we have to go with, but would be, could we actually correlate that with any kind of recognizable or discernible signals or patterns in terms of the periodicity of the waves and the emissions that we've seen either from stable or unstable wormholes? Of course, we haven't found any stable wormholes as of yet, or means of communication that we've seen.
Good questions. Go ahead.
I have one possible. Are we able to determine any corresponding emissions to the particles? Like something that's maybe triggering them to happen?
Right.
All good questions. Which one do you want
Is
to go
there
with?
is there any way that we can word a question which includes all three questions?
I think it'd be a little difficult. Just
Well, no, I have exactly the right question we have to ask. So,
okay.
ELH,
Mhm.
how can you explain the entire plot of this episode to us?
Well, if you'll all turn in
Good
your
question.
script to page 3, you will see that this is the part where ELH makes something off the top of his head and has nothing prepared for this eventuality.
Mm-hmm.
I would say we get a free question from the advanced sensors. I get a free question as the sensor or the science officer,
Mhm.
and we pay 1 momentum to ask all 3 of those questions. Then
Like a plan to me?
Works for me.
All
Yeah.
right. So, of course, if I'm misremembering the questions, feel free to correct me. But the first question is you want to know where the verterons are localized, if they are localized at all. Yes, in fact, there are 2 major locations that you were able to glean before the sensors arrays popped offline. So the very first is that on the northern hemisphere, near what would typically be the pole of the planet, there is a extremely large concentration of verterons. There is also a smaller but still noticeable sort of indication or transmitter in orbit of verterons. Definitely not at the same scale as the one that's on the planet, but notable all the same. The second thing is that in terms of how to say this, in terms of things that might be in the computer in terms of intelligence or anything of that nature, you run it by the ship's computer, you run it through the universal translator, maybe even pull in a red shirt that's good with languages, and you're 99.8% sure that you're not dealing with a pulsar situation, to be topical. What was the third question? I'm trying to remember.
in a sense, I think you answered it with the first one, both in terms of the largest concentration and location. But the third question that Alex asked was, is there something that's triggering the creation of these verteron particles? Is it like a reciprocal response to something else?
Yeah. Well, is there any? Yeah, he was saying. I don't want to speak for you, Alex, but like, is there a corresponding emission?
Yeah.
Okay. Based on what you're able to tell from this distance, because you're still probably about 20 minutes out, as far as you can tell, there isn't a cause and effect here. It's not like you're seeing an emission of a different particle and then the verterons, or you're not seeing verterons and then an emission of another particle. There is no rhyme or reason as to why these verterons are being emitted.
At least it appears that way.
Good way to put it.
And I guess at the control panels, you see that Dr. Shrev's antennae are sort of not quite writhing, but they've risen from her hairline, and they appear sort of to indicate some kind of intense focus, although she's still massaging her temples where the small mechanical devices are implanted that would grant her sight. It seems as if there's a concentration of verteron particles emanating from the northern pole.
Interesting that they should have a specific location.
I suppose we should contact the bridge. That might give them some ability to navigate the resultant verteron field that's being produced.
That would be an excellent idea in order to, one, perhaps get closer to see what is going on, but also to avoid the particles themselves.
Well, shall we make those modifications then to the ship to at least attempt
Indeed.
to forestall the influence of these verterons?
Yes.
So as you two get to work on a possible solution, we're now actually going to go to the ready room, where the captain and the tactical officer are having a very frank discussion about security procedures and what to do in case another random person walks onto the bridge. Now, actually, since this is the first time, and I usually do this for my captains, has Kaya done anything special to the ready room? It's about the size of Picard's ready room for reference. It's just laid out a little bit differently. But is there anything special in terms of furniture, decoration, etc. that the captain's got going on?
There are two sort of keepsakes, if you will. One from the Magister and one from the Facile, the previous ships that Captain Kaya served aboard.
Mhm.
I'll leave it up to you what those keepsakes are, and then I will come from there. So that's, in addition to standard ready room stuff, those two have a kind of a place of prominence somewhere, either hanging on the wall or, on a kind of display plinth or something.
Mhm.
And also, there is, I guess, what would be the 24th century equivalent of a jazz piano
Ooh.
is in there, kind of tucked away in a corner so that it's not, getting in people's way, but that it's, it's a piece that you can see as you come in and go, oh, okay,
Nice. I like it.
yeah.
And I think in terms of accoutrements from your previous ship, let's say one is an actual model of the ship, and the other one is maybe a burned out phaser coupling. So kind of like what we see on DS9 sometimes, where
Hmm.
during the Dominion War they would always make trophies out of their burnt out phaser relays. Kind of the same thing here, where you just sort of have a keepsake of that nature.
Right. So we'll say it's a model of the Magister and the phaser bank of the Facile.
There you go.
Okay. Right, Thrall. As you well know, you are my chief of security, and I think technically speaking, I'm supposed to hold you responsible for any uh, intrusions on the security of the ship. Um, since it's early days, I'm not going to dock your pay just yet. All right, so you're safe. You've been eyeing that. I know you've been eyeing that space yacht you're so interested in. You'll still be able to afford it, but don't let it happen again.
I've been looking into failsafes to try and keep it from happening. Quite frankly, I haven't found many good plans to go after.
Right. Well, what are the bad plans? I guess let's start there.
The probably simplest to implement would be a biometric lock on the turbo lifts. Make sure they won't open for anyone who's not supposed to be in a specific area of the ship.
Mm-hmm. And I suppose we could tie that in with the sort of biomedical records that we've taken of all the crew, make it easier to establish that system. But at the same time, well, I know I've read some Starfleet incidents of people. Well, what's an elegant way to say this? Not being themselves, let's say, and so there may be opportunities when we might want to. Well, it seems odd that it may not be prudent to put that lock on because you or I or the Bark, the Doctor, Kanath, we might turn into a bloody cloud or something, and then we're not can't get on the bridge. Not that I'm looking forward to that in any respect, but yeah, I don't think that's necessarily the avenue we want to travel. Have you got anything else?
Well, the other downside I could see to that plan, in the event of any emergencies, personnel would be locked out of where they need to go to remedy that situation.
Right, yeah. Yes, you're right. That is a bad plan. Correct. Right. Next bad plan, please.
Next bad plan, maybe introducing some form of a cyclic ionic charge into the structural integrity field. It might provide an added boost to any incoming signals to the ship.
Mm-hmm.
I ran a few preliminary tests on this. Unless the structural integrity field stays above 97% effectivity, it would be pointless.
I see. So there are power draw concerns. Let me pose a hypothetical to you, Thrall. And you may be able to answer this. If not, check with the boys in engineering. Um, let's suppose the ship is struck by some incredibly high intensity energy burst. If that is, in any way connected with this cyclical charge, if you will, could the ship, in fact, just blow up?
I'd have to check with the engineering department on that. I can't tell you for sure.
Right. The fact that you don't know the answer to that, I think, classifies it as a bad plan. Right. So that's two. Well, I guess it seems at this moment that I guess our best plan is just to stay vigilant, I suppose. We were lucky that Mr. Prot, as it were, was, benign, I suppose.
I would have to agree with that. It all around is a very peculiar situation. I don't know many instances where this has happened before, at least not in official record.
Agreed. Right. Well, I guess barring any, continue to work on it and all, obviously. If you come up with anything particularly clever or particularly bad, if you think I'm in need of a laugh, send it my way. And let's just hope there aren't any more uninvited guests.
Always a good thing to hope for.
Right about
Right.
then, that a hail goes across the ship, and it's Lieutenant Commander Sarid, and they simply say, "Senior officers to the bridge, we've arrived."
Right. Well, it looks like we got to head onto the bridge. So after you.
Captain, and Gerald will stand up and walk out.
So all of you arrive on the bridge in your own way and fashion, probably Shrev and Nabak sharing a turbolift car. But as you all come onto the bridge and settle into your stations, what you see outside is wondrous in two forms. The first is that the planet itself is awash with basically the aurora borealis we have here on Earth, but imagine that planet-wide. So there's kind of this hanging mystical ephemeral energy or light that sort of hangs over the entirety of the planet. The other thing that you're noticing is that Kanath, your helm officer, has actually brought you relatively close to the satellite signal that you had identified earlier. And as the view screen zooms in, what you see is that it seems to be if you had to qualify, like a satellite, like a man-made or an artificial satellite, complete with solar panels, fusion reactors, things of that nature. But what's growing out of it is a tree. It's not like, say, a maple tree or, a wisteria tree or anything like that, but just looking at the tree and the fact that it's glowing in the same way the light on the planet is glowing, you might be able to assume there's a connection there of some sort.
All right. Dr. L, perhaps you can anticipate my first question. What the hell is that?
And I assume that was actually directed at me.
Oh, yes. Sorry.
Okay, you call me Dr.
You're
L.
Dr. Sharev.
Yes.
Dr. L is a completely different person.
And in character, that moment of hesitation was absolutely appropriate because Shrev is locked and fixated on the image and this sort of strange twisting auroral pattern. And then as the captain calls upon her, she shakes her head, her antennae sort of pressing down again. Of course, Captain, I apologize. I haven't actually run preliminary scans. I'll do that immediately.
All right. So this is going to be a reason science on your part. The Kasumi will assist you with the sensor science as per usual. However, the difficulty will be rather high. The difficulty will be a 4 in this instance.
Well, turn the ship around. It's too hard.
I will activate augmented ability reason.
Okay, starts with a free success.
And would anyone mind if I spent all 3 momentum to roll 4 dice? I'm getting the sense that the captain is not approving of that, but I'm a civilian, so I don't have to follow orders.
That or they froze.
Approve.
Their internet might have froze.
Yes. Okay, applicable focus.
All right, that's already 5 successes by what I see. So you do get a momentum back, and yes, what you learn is that in the roots of the tree, at least as far as you're able to tell, there does appear to be something wormhole-like or wormhole adjacent, as in you're seeing, at least as far as your sensors are able to tell, a portal, a gateway, or something just that leads to somewhere else completely.
With my free question,
You actually get 2, because again, high-resolution sensors.
true, with one of the free questions, I'd like to know, is it possible to determine whether the roots have actually somehow emerged from that? In other words, is it growing out of those portals, or has it grown into those portals and penetrated into them like a plant penetrating to the earth, seeking out nutrients or water?
So this is more of a Stargate situation where the tree is the ring and the portal is being generated by the tree.
How dare you?
Any other questions that anyone would think to ask?
Is there any indication that this growth is sentient in any way? Like, can we possibly read, like, check for essentially brain waves, right? You know, patterns that might indicate intelligence?
An excellent question. I'm going to say that your scans are inconclusive. There's not a no, but also there's not a yes.
Right, so it could just be stupid. Yes, of course. Stupid tree. Stupid space tree. Got it.
Well, Captain, I'm at a complete loss as to explain the nature of this creature or this growth. However, it does appear to be connected to either some other realm or another area of space by way of a series of micro wormholes or something approximating them that it's generating around its root system.
All right, Dr. Shrev. First impulse. What do you think it is?
I don't know. I've never seen anything.
Don't think. Just see. What's your gut tell you?
I believe that it's some kind of life form, non-sapient, that has attached itself to this satellite and is simply using it as a medium for its own growth.
Right. Good observation. Let's operate on that understanding. So, let's see. Let's launch a sensory probe. Let's see if we can get some better readings. Maybe see if it interacts with the probe at all.
Yes, Captain. Preparing the probe now.
So something... oh, go ahead.
So I was just going to say, as I was launching the probe, or as the probe passes by it, I'd like to reach out telepathically to try to scan it, not directly, but to see if there's any kind of lingering, almost like aura of a response to the probe as it passes by. But if something transpires before we launch the probe, that's fine.
I'm going to let you roll for that in a moment, but in terms of the probe, what happens is you all see the probe launch out and soar towards the tree, but before it can get really anywhere close to the tree, a little portal similar to the one that's contained within the roots opens up, and then all of a sudden, you're not getting readings from the satellite anymore. The probe is now transmitting from the planet's surface itself, and this is where I get to show you this. So what you're seeing from the probe's view is a gigantic tree. Like, I'm talking Yggdrasil world tree level size, where not only are there just a cornucopia of branches, greenery, and things like that, but there are portals upon portals upon portals. There is quite literally a portal tree in the northern pole at this point. And I would say you get maybe about maybe about 30 seconds of a feed before the probe disappears into another portal, but this time it does not come back. And then as far as your telepathy is concerned, why don't you do me a control and a command here, difficulty of 2.
I'll spend 1 momentum to roll 3 dice.
Noted. Survey says there's your 2 successes. It's almost like, I don't know if you've played D&D, I forget, but it's almost like one of those speak to tree moments where you can, of course, get a general sense of intelligence from the tree, but it's not the kind of intelligence you can have a conversation with. It's very much an ancient or a slow-moving intelligence, if there is one.
Captain, I've lost contact with the probe, but my general impression of this entire region, and from what I can determine of the tree itself, I think we're dealing with some form of alien intelligence. My initial supposition was incorrect. This entity, whatever it is, has at least some ability to recognize us. Perhaps we've triggered some defensive reaction.
Well, let's conduct ourselves appropriately then. From now on, we're treating this as first contact. It's only appropriate if we've got an intelligent life before us. Now, let's talk about protocol. Let's see. Actually, before we do that, launch another probe, please.
Captain, I'm somewhat reluctant to do that in light of the fact that it appeared to react negatively or instinctively against the appearance of our probe. We wouldn't want to, I don't know, disturb it or provoke it.
Instinct is not necessarily negativity, Dr. Streff. And we'll launch this one a bit slower. Intentionally reduce the impulse power, and let's just see how it reacts. 1 time might be a coincidence. 2 times is a confirmation.
That's still a relatively small sample size, Captain, but reasonable extrapolation.
We don't have 400 probes, now do we? Do we have 400 probes? How many probes do we have?
Nabak, how many probes do we have?
We have about 200, I think.
Well, launch all 200 at once.
Well, that may be a bit excessive.
We could always convert the photon torpedoes, replicating the parts necessary in order to install sensor modules in place of the antimatter containment pods.
Right.
Would be relatively facile.
So your suggestion is to launch essentially proton torpedoes at this thing. Now, who is, acting rashly, Doctor?
The difference between a photon torpedo and a probe really
Nabak
is rather
going to mime like a pulling motion.
Go on, Doctor. No, go ahead.
I'm just never mind, Captain. Preparing the probe. I'll keep it at one-half the speed.
Doctor, before you launch it, would you mind configuring it to also scan for interaction between the tree and the verteron particles? Perhaps a type of photosynthesis, as it were.
Fascinating possibility. I hadn't even considered that. I will do so immediately.
So after modifying the probe and launching this one, you send it out, and this time it's much slower. And actually, it doesn't cause a reaction. In fact, the probe is able to engage in tight orbit around the satellite. You are getting data back, but to answer the verteron question you just posed, yes, in fact, you're noticing that when the big tree, or even the smaller satellite tree, forms a new wormhole or a new portal to wherever, there is a burst of verterons.
Interesting.
It's quite beautiful in a way.
It's magnificent.
And we've seemed to have at least initially confirmed that it responded to the velocity of the probe rather than its presence. Did it interpret the first probe as a threat, perhaps?
Could it also have been the trajectory of the probe?
That's a possibility too. Thank you, Tyrell. Suggestions, crew.
Have we scanned the planet surface yet to see if there are any other life signs in the vicinity of the other tree?
Not as of yet. It's something we can try.
All right, get on that, please.
Certainly.
Well, Nabak and Troll, since this is your idea, more or less, why don't one of you have me do a reason and security on this one, or even a reason and science, whichever you'd prefer. And the ship will assist you with a sensors and security on this. The difficulty will be just a 1.
I can do reason and security on that one. Would investigation count as a focus?
I most definitely would, yes.
And the ship is rolling
Sensor security.
Sensor security. Okay.
I'm just waiting for the ship to explode during one of these rolls.
I mean, Nabak is the one pushing the buttons. He hasn't had a great track record so far.
I say, I'm going to use that one momentum we have to redice if everyone's okay with that.
All right. I already got your 1 success that you need, so anything you roll at this point is free momentum.
Hey.
There you go. You get 3 momentum back. And yeah, actually what you're noticing, Troll and Nabak, is that there are a number of life signs. Now, when I say life signs, I don't mean like human or Tholian or Klingon or Gorn. But what you are noticing is that there are a lot of life forms that shouldn't exist side by side. For example, let's say that there are brown bears from Earth, but there's also some form of an ice beast from Andoria. And maybe there's some exotic, what's the Vulcan cat? A Salat? Is that what it is? You're seeing Salats. You're seeing basically a hodgepodge of different species that are located on the planet that are from other worlds and other places of existence.
Interesting.
So if I'm reading these sensors correctly, it's almost a sort of menagerie or a zoo, if you will. The question is, are these creatures here because of this thing's intent, or is it merely a byproduct of its trying to live its life, essentially?
It's an interesting question, a bit outside my area of expertise, though.
Dr. Shrev, is it safe to beam down to the planet?
Given the unpredictable nature of the appearance of these micro wormholes and the, uncertainty as to their end location, I can't really answer that question unless we determine how and why these wormholes appear. Perhaps not, but I was under the impression that, as a great captain once said, risk was our business. I think it's worth it.
Indeed, Doctor. Fortune favors the bold, as they say. Right. All right. Get me a shuttlecraft prepped, and I want all of our scientific and engineering team assembled in that hangar bay immediately. We're going down now, and we're going to get volunteers.
So, important question there, Captain. I'm assuming you're going on this one?
Possibly.
Possibly. All right. Let me just, let's move us over to the shuttle's Type 6 shuttle interior. All right, so of course feel free to not put yourself at the helm if you don't want to be there, but we've got Shrev, we've got Troll, we've got Nabak, and then do you guys want to bring a supporting character?
I would have posed a question to, again, the science and engineering, like the involved staff, you know.
Mm-hmm.
It's a potentially risky mission. We could be stranded somewhere, like, you know, this is a high risk, high reward kind of scenario. Is there anybody who actually wants to step forward before I, you know, like order someone on the ship?
I think for sake of argument here, I think Kanoth, as your helm officer, is going to volunteer for this one. So they will at least be flying the craft for you.
Okay.
I will put out there that Thrall is also capable of flying the craft as well.
Good to know. Good to know.
Let's
So let's put
bring-
you up front then.
Let's bring one security, one elite security member as chosen by Tyrell, just in case things go pear-shaped, let's say.
Good. All right. Well, as you all assemble, and I'll get a token for the security officer here in a moment, but as you all assemble in the cargo, or not the cargo bay, the shuttle bay of the Kasumi, basically what you see is very similar to what we see in TNG, where it's sort of almost like a deck-wide shuttle bay where you're seeing Type 6s, you're seeing what are essentially proto-runabouts. It is a large open area that you have access to. And as you all are walking towards the craft you're going to be taking, I think Kanath is just going to sort of skip a little bit in their step and go, man, I haven't had a chance to fly one of these babies since the academy. I've been really looking forward to getting my hands on it.
That's very good to hear, Lieutenant, because if this wormhole thing does not go our way, you'll be flying this thing all the way back to the ship or Starfleet headquarters. You'll get plenty of time in.
Not to worry, sir. Even if we end up next to Kronos, I'll get us home safely.
Preferably before I die of old age.
Well, can't promise that, Captain. And she kind of winks at you. So, yeah.
I'll make sure your service is beautiful.
Somehow I don't entirely trust that at all, but okay.
I'm over 300 years old. I know what I'm doing by now.
You've attended a lot of funerals, have you?
I'm over 300 years old.
Well, a better question, you've been in charge of a lot of funerals, have you?
In charge? No. But I've seen some rather beautiful ones.
Well, I've seen a lot of particle physics experiments, but I'm not going to volunteer to run one.
I didn't volunteer to run it. I just said if it becomes a possibility.
Right, I'm getting mixed signals to all. Are you going to make sure I have a great funeral or not?
I'm going to try to endeavor to make sure we don't have to have one.
Fair enough. And I will accordingly try not to die. All right.
As long as we're in understanding.
Is everybody clear of the plan? Nobody die. Good? Great.
Our best.
All right. So,
All right. Thrall, Gnath, take us out.
all right. So we see the shuttlecraft leaving the shuttle bay of the Kasumi and begin to angle down towards the planet. So what I'm going to need now is a very important role from either Thrall or Kanath. Of course, you can assist one another. This is going to be a control and a con. The difficulty on this will be a 4, and the reason for that is that the verterons are playing havoc with your impulse engines, and you also are trying to avoid any, shall we say, would-be wormholes springing up in your path. The shuttle will also assist you with its own engines and engines and con, and there should be a ship or a shuttle sheet available to you all as well.
Yeah, I got it.
So I will take the lead on this one.
Okay. All right.
I
No help
will-
from the shuttlecraft, unfortunately.
I will assist with my command.
I would say you can either assist with your command or Kanath can assist with their own control con. So it's one or the other here.
Well, I do have the advisor talent for command, so it might be more beneficial to use that rather than.
Sounds like a plan to
Kanath's.
me.
Okay.
So Kaya, you're going to be rolling a control. Actually, no, you'd be rolling a presence and con or a presence and command on this one.
Okay.
So I'm going to use the 3 momentum we have to roll 4 dice if everyone's okay with that.
Yes.
All right.
Rather not crash.
And then my focus in helm operation.
Most definitely would apply. All right, that's already 6 successes. Let's see if the captain gets you another assist.
I also have helm operations, so I'm going to use that as well.
All right.
Okay.
Hopefully no
1d
complications.
1d20. There we go.
There you go. So you're up to 3 momentum. So the ride down to the planet's surface is a little bit bumpy and otherwise a little bit turbulent. The inertial dampeners do their best, but there's still a few moments where Trawl, you're having to like throw the ship into a tailspin, or you have to dodge, an incoming pulse of verterons. But eventually, the six of you, including the security officer, do end up landing on the planet. Now, my question is, where on the planet do you want to land in particular? Do you want to be near the world tree? Do you want to be just somewhere away from the tree but still visible? Where is it you want to park on the surface?
My initial instruction would have been within, let's say, 200 yards of the tree,
Okay.
right? Or maybe not that precise measurement, but to the point where, let's just say that if the tree reacts negatively, we've got a little bit of like, let's say, running space to get away from it so that we can get in the shuttlecraft and leave.
All right. And as you settle down, I'm actually going to spend a little bit of threat here. I don't usually do this, but I'm actually going to spend a little bit of threat that the moment the shuttle lands and you all are safely on the ground, there's a sudden burst of verterons that is directed in your direction, but not directly at you. And I'm going to say that the verteron pulse actually does cause damage to your impulse engines. So immediately the shuttlecraft's power dies, all the lights flicker out, and for the moment, you are technically stranded on this planet.
This is exactly
Alright.
what I hadn't hoped for. But we didn't have time to modify a shuttlecraft for extra verteron protection.
Well, Nabak, you have plenty of time now to fix and then modify the shuttle, because I believe you'll be having to stay here and make sure this thing can get us home.
Indeed. I shall see what I can do right away then, Captain.
Right. You there? This. And I'm gesturing towards the security guy.
Mm-hmm.
What was your name again?
My name is Ensign Rouge, sir.
It's lovely to meet you, Ensign. I believe we met at the coordination when you first boarded, but it's good to see you again. If you would please stay with Nabak and make sure he's able to do his work unperturbed, as it were.
Aye, sir. I will make sure that Nabak and the Master Chief are able to complete their work.
Right. Let's see. Kanath, Shrev, Taral, you're with me.
So the back of the shuttle opens up. There's a slight difference of air pressure, so there's a little bit of gust of wind coming into the shuttle. And immediately what you notice is that there's a smell in the air that is sickly sweet. It's almost like, I'm trying to remember the plant name, but you know how after a rain there's a certain type of plant that sort of has a, I don't want to call it a miasma, but it's a very noticeable smell after a rain. I'm probably going to have to look it up over the break what I'm thinking of, but it's definitely one of those things where in general, there is a noticeable scent in the air that isn't bad, but also isn't entirely pleasant. The other thing that you notice is that aside from the fact that the light is coming from the world tree itself, you're actually afforded a beautiful view of the stars overhead. It is quite similar to what you would find, say, in the middle of a desert or in the middle of the rainforest down in the Amazon, where since the light pollution from the tree is but so much, you're able to see the stars in a much more clearer fashion than you would say in civilization, if you were. But yeah, it's your game, but I think the captain might have lost connection there. So let's give them a moment to come on back.
Perhaps we want to take our break.
Yeah, I was saying maybe let's take our break here. That'll give the captain time to come back. So we'll be back in about 5 to 10 minutes, everybody. We'll still take our break. So we'll be back in about 5 to 10 minutes, everybody. Stick around. Welcome back, everybody, to Part 2, Session 2 of Kasumi. If you're just tuning in, the players are more or less investigating a strange sort of world tree phenomenon where the world tree, or Yggdrasil, or whatever you want to actually call the thing, on the uncharted planet of H3M9 is actually producing a large amount of wormholes and wormhole adjacent portals that lead to other places in space and time. The players have decided to embark on an away mission down to the planet's surface, and unfortunately, when they arrived, their shuttle was, well, not entirely burned out, but very similar. It's going to take quite a bit to fix this shuttle. And in fact, let's address that first. Nabak, if you could roll me an insight in engineering, a difficulty of 1 here, please. And if you have anything related to small craft or anything related to impulse engines, that would apply here.
I only have starship construction, which I don't think
Actually, that would
works.
apply, I think.
Oh,
And as you're rolling that, I have not only a prime sun from Revan's friend, thank you so much, but we're also being rated by Infinite Versu. Hopefully I said that right. Hello, hello, welcome Raiders. Hello, hello. I'm ELH, I'm the Game Master here. If you are first time here on the channel, I'm basically a VTuber that does a lot of game mastering of different tabletop role-playing systems. We are playing Star Trek Adventures at the moment, and if you stick around, great. If not, thanks for the raid all the same. But yeah, what you got going on, Nabak? What you got?
Insight plus engineering, right?
You got it.
Okay.
And the difficulty here is only going to be a 1. There you go. That's 3 successes to start off with, which means you get another 2 momentum. So what you're going to realize, Nabak, is that while you can repair based on the emergency, basically the emergency supplies that come on every shuttle, the problem here is that you need a very specific part. You need a displacement manifold rated for Sigma quality. Unfortunately, the shuttle does not come equipped with that. So you're either going to have to make one somehow, or you're going to have to find something similar.
Right. Well, if I can contact the rest of the away team that went away from the shuttle, because I assume they're farther away at this point.
I mean, I would say they're probably still within shouting distance unless the captain has decided to run a marathon.
With my bum leg, not so much. Yeah, I think we'll take a leisurely pace on this one.
Well, I have no desire to yell, so...
There you go.
Nabak to Captain.
Captain here, come in.
Captain, I have isolated the problem. There seems to be something wrong with a distribution manifold, but it needs to be rated for Sigma 9, and I don't have any extra on the shuttlecraft, so I will attempt to manufacture one here. But if you happen to see anything on your way to the tree that might be elements of making one work better, or maybe you find another crashed ship, I don't know. But keep your eyes open if you would.
Very well, Chief. If I find any assorted ship bits and bobs as we're walking towards this giant tree, I'll let you know. The chances are, I'm looking at the figures now, pretty slim, actually. But I'll revise that possibility as we go.
Well, it is a portal tree to who knows where, so...
All right, don't get fresh with me. Captain out. And as the captain sort of terminates the transmission, she looks at the rest of the people with her on the away team and is like, this guy, this guy, kind of a look.
It's not wholly unreasonable that one of these portals might have disgorged something that could be useful. Not impossible, at least.
Well, speaking of useful, you did just get a momentum from chat.
I recognize what you're saying, Doctor, but at the same time, please refrain from using the word disgorged anymore. I have a visceral reaction to that. It's quite unpleasant.
I'm sorry, Captain. I suppose some colorful language was employed simply because I didn't feel that it was proper of you to be so disrespectful of the cob.
I'm not being disrespectful of the cob. I'm taking a piss, you know, that sort of thing.
Do you want us to leave you alone, Captain? That seems like...
No, it's okay. I'll tell you what. We'll schedule a time where I can get you used to human idioms, right? Okay. We'll have a little session every week. I'll teach you some fun new things to say, and you'll, be less of a, a stick up something. Let's just move on, shall we?
Pulling your leg, taking a piss, these human expressions seem so vulgar.
But they are, yes. Humans are quite vulgar as well. I don't know if you've noticed.
Hasn't exactly been my experience, but perhaps I've just tend to hold people to a higher standard. But
I will say they're not as bad as some Klingon idioms.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you, Taral. Yes, those Klingon idioms are they're quite meaty in the mouth when you say them. It conjures up the wrong image.
It does.
Also, I don't know if I should be vaguely insulted by the doctor here, who seems to be indicating that previous people of a higher standard than her current company.
maybe it's just a consequence of going through the military. Develops a different attitude than the researchers with whom I've been familiar in the past.
The captain will turn to Rawl. How long do you think we can get her to keep digging this hole?
I said, Trawl, look towards the captain, look towards Shrev. Kind of tilt his head back and forth. 5-6 minutes tops.
Well, it's a record. Not a world one, but, well, for this world. Congratulations, Doctor.
You know, I must admit that I find it fascinating, Captain, that you would find amusement in this when you are presented with, and she gestures out towards the effervescent, I guess, aurora that is the series of opening and closing portals around them and the streams of energy, when all of this is actually available to you.
That whole business over there is quite beautiful and fascinating, but you have to admit, it's a terrible bloody conversationalist.
That's just because we don't quite speak its language, Captain.
Well, I can't win with you. All right. Well, let's go to the tree then and learn the tree's language. Come on, everyone.
And I think that as Shrev takes up the rear, following both the officers, she is going to take out her tricorder and remove one of those small sensor probes, run it over her temples, and the mechanical implants alongside her eyes are going to activate. She winces and sort of shrinks into herself for a moment, sets her shoulders back, and then starts forward with her optical implants and her Enar telepathic sight, both active at the same time, examining the environment with a more keen and attentive focus.
Gotcha. So what I'm going to say here is that you'll take an additional difficulty to all tasks, not just ones involving con, science, whatever. And the reason for that is because when you combine the artificial and the supernatural, at least that's how I'm going to flavor it, it's more or less like you are looking at almost like a spotlight. And when I say spotlight, I don't mean like just something you'd have on the outside of your house. I mean like one of those movie premiere spotlights that you can see the roving, kind of light in the clouds. It's that bright. Which if you've never had the misfortune of looking into one of those, don't. You will not see anything for days. But it's one of those things where the tree itself is such a shining beacon that you almost instinctively sort of shy away from it and look away and just try not to look at it. But all the portals in the area, all these swirling bits of energy, all of it is just way too bright for your liking.
And I would say that part of the complication, of course, is that it exacerbates the pre-existing headache that was produced by the implants, even though they were deactivated at the outset.
Fair enough.
Do
All right.
we notice that at all, or is that
I think that
surreptitious?
you would notice in her body language there's been an alteration, and that she is more resolute, but that's clearly concealing pain.
Okay,
However, the implants hurt all the time, so there's always an undercurrent of that in her motions.
got it. Okay, then I will
So,
make no note of it. I will make a note of it and do nothing.
and do nothing about it. There you go.
Great, Captain.
There you go. So, Mr. Troll, I've actually looked at your focuses here, and as you all are walking towards the tree, I would like you to roll me a insight and a con or an insight security here, difficulty of 1, related to your investigation focus, to see if you do find any crashed starships, shuttles, whatever, that Nabok could use to repair the shuttle. Difficulty on this is just a 1.
I'll use one momentum for 3 dice.
Have we technically engaged the good Q powers yet?
Yes.
Yeah, you have, so.
Okay, got it.
All right, so that is 3 successes, and I'll actually give you an option here. Instead of the momentum, I'll let you buy that off with the extra successes.
Yeah, let's go ahead and do that.
All right. So the good news, actually, is Trawl, you're not 100% sure, but as you sort of pass by a glowing river with bioluminescent fish swimming along in the water, you sort of pause for a moment and you look at a set of trees. And, of course, these trees are much smaller than the world tree that you're headed towards. But as you look towards this little thicket of trees, you kind of stop and you squint your eyes a little bit and maybe pull out your tricorder and maybe scan a little bit, and yeah, sure enough, there's what might have been at one point a Vulcan science ship. You know, the standard sort of dagger with the ring around it, so very like old style Vulcan ship. The difference here is that you're looking at basically the drive section, so just the circle, and it's noticeably overgrown with plant life. But now that you notice it, it might hold what you're looking for.
That's it. Charles gonna turn and get the rest of the awake team's attention as he points out the drive section. We might find what we need for the shuttle in there.
Vulcans are incredibly long-lived. Do you think it possible that there could have been any survivors from this?
Well, it's a funny thing you say that, Trev, because the moment you do, there's a laugh from behind you specifically, and as you probably jump and spin on the spot, what you see behind you is indeed a Vulcan. Now, this Vulcan is wearing civilian clothing befitting the Science Academy, but it's several centuries out of date. Like, we're talking NX era out of date. And the Vulcan kind of laughs a little bit maniacally and goes, Oh, your illusions, right? I'm losing it again. I have to be.
Hello.
Oh, you talk. Oh, that's a first. Illusions have never talked to me before.
Well, it could be that, sir, or it could be the fact that we're not illusions.
Logic would dictate that the possibility of you being illusions is lessening by the moment, yes.
Well, allow me to clarify your logic, and then the captain is going to like reach forward with a finger and just kind of like lightly poke the Vulcan in the chest.
And it's almost like you kind of actually stabbed him with a sword, because he like reels back at the sudden touch. He goes, okay, you're real. Finally, somebody has come to rescue me from this god-awful place.
Yes, we have. What can you tell us about this planet, this organism, and basically any information you can help give to us so that we can get you out of here?
Well, and he kind of looks over at the big tree. He kind of gets a little bit glazy-eyed, a little bit distant, and he says, well, first thing is that this tree has been here pretty much, as far as I can tell, better part of several millennia. It basically makes portals willy-nilly to pretty much anywhere. I've been in a few in an attempt to escape this place, but let's just say that without a functional spacesuit, surviving in a Class L or a Class Y environment is very difficult.
Right.
I'm sorry, Captain. Are you in? And she'll direct her attention to the Vulcan. If you've been here for centuries, then do you need medical attention? Can we help you? We can bring you back to our shuttlecraft if necessary.
Oh, I'm quite sure that I'm somewhat deranged mentally at this point, but logic would dictate that I help you with whatever it is you're looking for before you rescue me. I'm Me4, by the way.
Me4. Well, it's lovely to meet you. Please allow our doctor to give you just a quick look over, a quick scan just to make sure you're all together.
Captain, I believe I've informed you of this, but I'm not that kind of doctor.
I know you're not that bloody kind of doctor, but you're the only doctor we have right now. So if you would, please.
All right. And I suppose then Shrev would take out a tricorder and try to make some kind of rudimentary scan of this individual.
It's basically what you're thinking. Guy's been alone for 200, 300 years, kind of lacking for conversation. Probably is going to be a bit of a work whenever a counselor gets a hold of him, but, I mean, physically, he's fine.
Well, Captain, from my initial readings, limited though they are, he's as healthy as one could possibly expect, given the circumstances.
All right, you heard of me for clean bill of health. Now, could you explain precisely what you and presumably your team were doing here?
As he starts to enter into that conversation, we're actually going to go back to the shuttle at this point, where Nabak, you're with Rouge, you're again trying to do your best to get the shuttle back and running. However, the ensign kind of goes, Master Chief?
Yes, Ensign.
What, are you good at a phaser at all?
Not particularly.
Oh, okay.
Is there something that you need me to point a phaser at threateningly?
Those probably. And as you turn to look, what you see are very, very hungry Salats. There are 3 of them, and they are creeping closer and closer towards the shuttle.
Oh no. Well, I guess I will grab a phaser then, if he's offering it.
So, my question is, how are you going to be dealing with the Salats? Are you just going to open fire? You're going to
Extreme prejudice.
There you go. Are you maybe just going to seal up the shuttle door? What's your approach here to the incoming problems?
First, I think, Nabak would definitely want to close the door, but he may also try to perhaps scare them.
Okay.
Not shoot them directly, but maybe like
nearby,
or a wide beam phaser burst to make fancy lights, and that's about it.
Got it. All right, why don't you roll me a control security, difficulty of 2. However, I am going to spend some threat to make the complication range in 18 to 20.
Of course you would.
Okay. How much momentum do we have?
You have 5 at the moment.
Okay. I would like to use some of that momentum to get a few extra dice, if possible.
Absolutely not.
Because my security is garbage. So, how many is it for dice?
It's one for one die. If you want to roll 4 dice total, it would be 3.
Is he ignoring my orders?
You're not there to give him orders.
Damn it.
It's true.
So I'll do the 4 dice to it.
I need to put a lock on the momentum box.
Apparently.
People just coming by and taking momentum whenever they feel
Just,
like it.
yeah, run past and take it.
All right,
Okay.
I believe.
And I don't think I have an applicable focus here, so. No.
All right, well, not only is that only one success, but you've also rolled a complication. So what I'm going to say is going to happen is, unless you want a determination that, I'm going to say you kind of point your phaser in the direction of the slot, you open fire, and not only do you not hit the slot as intended, but you actually strike a tree in the distance, and the tree catches fire. And the complication is going to be that you've now set a thicket of trees ablaze, and unless you put it out within a few minutes, the rest of the away team is going to notice it. And Rouge is going to turn to you and go, Master Chief, no offense, but you need to go to the range more.
Obviously, Ensign.
Right, hide inside shuttle?
That would be, at this point, based on that last display, probably our best option.
Okay. And of course the slot are getting closer and closer and closer. So how are we going to get the door closed? We don't have power to just close it right up. Are we just going to grab and pull, or?
I think that's basically the option that we have. I think we may have a manual override on the hinges, perhaps a magnetic override, but that's what we'll have to do.
Okay. I'll grab the left side. You grab the right side.
All right.
All right. So this is going to be a fitness and security. Actually, for you, Nabok, I'd give you a fitness and engineering even. Difficulty on this will be a 2, and you want to succeed on this one. You really do.
You'll be fine.
See. Could I tap a value for this?
Yeah, I mean, if you've got a value that applies.
Mistakes are the first step to better solutions.
Sure.
100% appropriate.
Brilliant.
Mm-hmm.
It's perfect.
So I forget,
that'll start you with 2 free successes, actually.
Okay, so let's do that.
So all you need to do now is not roll complications. You don't. You get 4 successes total, which is 2 momentum back. And yeah, between you and Rouge working together, you are managed to get the shuttle doors closed once again. And not a moment too soon, because you hear the slot jumping on top of the shuttle. And they sort of do that wild animal thing where they just sort of, look through the windows and sort of pace menacingly around the shuttle. But the good news is that they're not attacking you directly. That's the good news.
All right.
The bad news is that you are now trapped within the shuttle until someone does deal with this a lot.
Right. So I'm going to hit my comm badge.
Mm-hmm.
Block to Captain.
Captain here?
Well, Captain, we have a bit of a problem. It's not an engineering problem.
Could you please specify which problem we have? Because we've got quite a list at the moment.
Well, the first problem that you will see immediately is there is a fire behind you.
What? And the captain will kind of whirl around and
There's a
see
fire.
a small brush fire. How the bloody? What?
Let's just say there was a phaser fire.
What is it? What did the brush insult you?
No, that is actually the next point, Captain. Remember how we
more to this?
Oh yes. Don't worry, it gets more interesting.
Well, as you say that, I just got an evil power in chat. The bushfire is now an actual blaze. You have created a literal forest fire.
Oh dear.
If you remember all the creatures that we scanned before we landed,
Oh yes.
we managed to attract a pack of Salot, and they have surrounded the shuttle. Ensign Rouge and myself are currently ensconced inside, but we are unable to remove the creatures. Since I currently don't really have power, I can't really run an electrical field through the hull to attempt to remove them. So just so that you are aware, when you return, you probably should do so, as the colloquialism is, I believe, guns blazing.
Right. Thank you so much, Chief.
You're most welcome, Captain.
And she'll just like terminate the transmission. won't even say anything. Just. All right, gang. Things have gotten complicated. So, one, we have and you'll forgive me for this, Mifa, severely deranged Vulcan to escort. We've got a possible ecological disaster, you'll notice over there, big flame. And apparently the bark and the ensign are trapped inside the shuttle, being menaced by some large cats. So, shall we just roll for it to see, anyone particularly interested in any of these three garbage fires to put out first?
And the doctor will turn to Troll. Troll, is there anything that we could do with the defensive systems or weapons on board the shuttlecraft to perhaps forestall that forest fire, or, I don't know, extinguish it entirely? This entity, the World Tree, is been imperiled by our presence here.
If we're able to get power restored to the shuttle, we should be able to manage something either with the weight from the impulse engines, or perhaps even setting up a force field around the blaze.
Well, based on that, it seems like our first priority should be fixing the ship. So, all right, as much as it pains me, let's walk all the way back.
We need the component from the Vulcan vessel first.
Right. Mifa, do you have on your vessel, to your knowledge, a and she will rattle off the technical jargon.
Yeah. And he goes, yeah, I think our displacement manifold is still intact. It's going to be a little bit of elbow grease to get it out, but yeah, I think we could maybe make it work.
Well, that's great, because I have elbow and grease here with me. So the two of you, please, if you'll go with Mifa and get that thing ripped out post-haste. We need to get back to the shuttle.
All right. So what we're going to do now is we're actually going to enter into your first extended task here. And there is an actual time component to this. So just as a reminder, every attempt at an extended task does take 2 intervals of time. The intervals of time here are 30 minutes. So obviously, unless you spend momentum to reduce that time period, every single attempt is going to be 30 minutes of time. So the more time that the fire is ablaze, or the more time that more Salats can show up and make things even worse. But the good news is it's not a very difficult extended task. It's just going to have a work track of 10, a difficulty of 3, and a magnitude of 3. However, and this is where Troll and Shrev are going to have to do a little bit of elbow grease here, because this is going to be a fitness engineering. And you, of course, can assist one another, but I know for a fact that neither of those are your power stats.
My fitness isn't too bad, and my engineering's a 3. So maybe I should take the lead on this?
Go right ahead.
We should have brought some kind of circus strongman. That's what we needed.
We do have a substantial amount of momentum as well. We should spend 1 to lower the interval if possible.
Yeah, let's spend 1 to lower that.
All right, knocks it down to 30 minutes of time.
15?
Each interval is 30.
Okay.
So I would also like to use one for a third die.
Okay. And let's see what you get. I need to see at least 2 more successes here.
And then a focus in Starship Construction.
Would apply here, yes.
I'm so glad your support network is here, Peter. That's great.
All right, that's a grand total of 5 successes, which means you get 2 momentum right back. And yeah, so this, I need you to roll me 2 plus your engineering, so 5 challenge dice to see how much work you complete. And remember, the magic number is 5 in this system, so you have the option of either spending a momentum to reroll the 0, or you can just give me the 1 momentum for 1 work.
I will give you the 1 for 1 work.
Okay. So, good news. Between Shrev and Troll, you're able to, with Mifer's help, you are able to delve into the Vulcan ship, what remains of it anyway, and you are able to begin the process of pulling out the manifold. The difficulty here is that, well, it's a very large bit of equipment. It, in general, is something that's going to take the both of you carrying in order to get it back to your shuttle. Now, that said, I'm curious, what is the captain going to be doing while they're working on the manifold? Are you going to remain with this part of the OA team? Are you going to head back with Kanath to maybe deal with the Salat? You know, where are you in all this?
Since this task basically is one that requires a little bit of like muscle, that sort of thing, I imagine that I would just stick with Kanath and that we would head back to try to deal with the Salats.
Okay. So what that's going to mean then is I'll put you sort of here just to sort of represent the 3 groups we got going on. Mm-hmm. So Kaya and Kanath, as you approach the shuttle, you see that there are not only now 3, but 4 Salats that are now lounging or otherwise just idly clawing at the shuttle.
As we approach, I'll gesture to Kanath to kind of like get in a low stance, and if there's any kind of like, if we happen to be on a quarry set somehow, we'll get behind a very large rock or something, kind of get a look stealthily at the array of beasts before us, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. What do you have in terms of munition?
I have a Type 1 phaser.
All right. I was hoping you were going to say torpedo, but I see that's not the case. I have a Type 2, so here's my suggestion. What we need to do is create some kind of distraction, if you will, or at the very least something that will draw their attention so that at least some, if not all, of these creatures move away from the shuttle.
All right. I'll follow your lead, Captain.
Right. Okay. We have limited options, right? We don't seem to have any food on us, any juicy meat or anything like that. They don't exactly respond to bribery, although that would be fun. And I can't run. So I think, you see where I'm going with this? I think it technically falls to you to be the distraction. And just let me be clear, it doesn't please me to say this.
I mean, no, Captain, it makes sense. I mean, the body you're seeing now is just a hologram anyway. The real me is like currently situated about 5 feet above that, so...
Well, still, I know that if one of those things jumps a little bit too high, it might, technically you are no. Let's just say I know that cats and birds don't quite get along.
I have plenty of practice dodging them.
Great. Well, this conversation went a lot better than I thought it would. Right. So if you will, just take a breakneck speed in that direction, wave your holographic arms about, and generally get their attention. I will try to pick off any remaining creatures and get the thing open. And we'll rendezvous back here. I'll give you the signal.
Okay. All right. So there's two ways we can do this. You can either actually go through a roll with Kanoth, or you can simply roll me 4 challenge dice. And on any effects, the slots will basically come away from the shuttlecraft.
Okay. What was the first option? I'm sorry.
Actually rolling a fitness and security from Kanoth.
Okay, that from Kanoth.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let me just look at Kanoth real quick.
I mean, they're decent. Okay. They're not terrible.
Yeah, decent. All right. Okay.
What would the difficulty be, though?
That's the thing, is that the difficulty here would be a 4.
Ha! Gonna roll some challenge dice.
There you go.
Okay. Right. How many? 4?
4, you got it. 1 for each slot.
Okay, please, for the love of Christ, give me some effects.
You get 2. So 2 Salat peel away from the shuttle and begin chasing Kanoth around as Kanoth just sort of leads them on a wild goose chase. But it does leave 2 Salat that are still sort of lounging on the shuttlecraft itself.
Hold on. There are geese on this planet too?
I mean, yeah. I mean, do you want me to point out the Canadian geese that are about to come down and ruin your day even further? Because I can do it. I mean,
they're Canadian as well?
Would they go after the Salat?
I mean,
famous
I'm just going to
enemies
point
of the
out
Salat, the Canadian geese.
I'm just going to point out, as silly as this is, you do have 2 momentum that you could use to create an advantage, that there could literally be angry Canadian geese after the slot. I'm just going to put that out there. That is something you can do.
Okay, so...
I say we do it.
Yes, I'm on board with this, but they need to be French-Canadian geese. And... as part of the stipulation, I need to hear them make a noise.
Okay. I'm okay with this. Are you okay with this, Matthew?
I'm not part of the military. I can't object. I don't know Starfleet protocols, so I can't call out the captain on this blatant, not quite racism, but there's something xenophobic about this course of action.
All right, so I'm going to apologize in advance to anyone who actually speaks French or is from Canada. I'm just going to apologize in advance. But as Kanoth gets 2 of the Salat running away, you know, Captain Kai, you're just sitting behind this rock and you're going, damn, I wish we had something better. And then you hear the sound of wings from behind you, and you turn and look, and a literal squad flying V of Canadian geese fly over and begin harassing the Salat, just sort of attacking them willy-nilly, as Canadian geese actually do. And you swear, if you listen really, really carefully, you say, the gooses are here. You see that, you silly Salat, you are boutonné. And that's the best French I can do. I apologize. That was terrible.
Right, I accept it. I accept it.
But needless to say, the Canadian geese do now scare away the other 2 Salat. So, good news, you don't have Salat to deal with anymore. Bad news, you have 6 Canadian geese to deal with. And Nabak, you see all of this. With Rouge, you just sort of look out of the window of the shuttle. You see and hear all of this.
Okay, so I will, still behind the rock, as I'm kind of looking a little dumbfounded at this sudden arrival of geese. Very, like, comically French geese. I will tap the comm badge. Captain's in the balk. Come in the balk.
Balk here, Captain.
This is going to be a strange question, Chief, but do you have any bread on board?
I was actually just about to look for the emergency ration packs, Captain.
Great. If you could, please find some and just toss it out of the bloody shuttlecraft.
We are of the same mind.
And as you rummage around trying to find a piece of bread or something to throw to these geese, we're going to go back to Troll and Trev working on that manifold. So as a reminder, you are currently looking at work track of 5, difficulty of 2, and honestly, if you just do another 5 work, you will complete the extended task in 1 go. Well, 2 goes, actually. But first things question, do you want to spend your remaining momentum to reduce the work interval here?
I think so, but what about you, Alex?
Yeah, let's go ahead and spend it.
Okay. All right, so again, it is another fitness engineering on your part.
You could spend determination.
That is a possibility, yes. Question is, do you have a value that applies to the question?
Or
I
you could just give
believe
it a try.
I'm going to have my value. Yesterday is the reason for today.
Yeah, I mean, you are looting a past ship. That does track in my mind.
Yep.
So just don't roll any complications. All right, so there's one momentum for you. There you go. So you get a total of 3 momentum back. And yes, very important roll. 5 challenge dice from you, Mr. Troll, as you maybe get the whole manifold out with Shrev's assistance. And you got it, no problem. So between Mafor, Troll, and Shrev, you finally pull out the manifold, which I'm imagining looks almost like a comically sized heatsink from a computer. It's just big. And as you pull it out and you sort of hold it between the 3 of you, Mafor finally says, "So, where are we taking this thing? Do you have a shuttle of some sort?"
Yeah, we have a shuttle that we landed in. It's in the direction of that smoke.
Oh, wow, that's quite the blaze.
I'm going to need to talk to my security officer later.
So the good news is that as we return to Nabak, I'm going to say that you have found the emergency rations at this point. So what you do with them is your call.
The emergency baguette that's on board every shuttlecraft.
Ah, you silly American! You assume that we French geese will like the baguette.
What I would like to do,
Where's
because
it coming from?
actually, no, I don't remember. Does this particular type of shuttle, because of the period, also have a side door, or does it only have
No,
the
it
back
just
door?
has the back door.
Okay. So I will, working with Ensign Rouge, what I would like to do is like crack the ramp open a bit,
Mm-hmm.
so the geese can't get back into the shuttle, and like pitch it away from the shuttle and away from where the captain is.
I'm going to need a control security difficulty of 2 to see how well you throw it through the crack.
I would like to assist.
How are you? That's the question. How are you assisting?
I'm getting on the comm and I'm saying like, okay, so the geese are here. What you're gonna do is go like a couple degrees to the left and basically provide like a spotter kind of service.
Okay. I'll give you a presence security on that one.
That'll do.
Okay.
Difficulty of 2 on this. All right, there's 1. Do we get an assist from the captain?
Okay.
No pressure, of course.
Of course. I have a focus in jazz piano. Does that
I
apply
don't think
here?
that helps you here, unfortunately.
Oh wait, hold on. What about composure?
I'll give you a composure, sure.
Alrighty then. Okay.
Power
There's-
systems of command.
There you go. All right, with 2 successes, Nabak, you take your rations, you chuck it out through the little hole in the ramp you've made, and the Canadian geese, who are here on this planet because, of course, they go after the rations. Just as Kaya and Kanath, as you step out and start to head towards the shuttle, you also now see Troll, Shrev, and Mafor coming down the passageway of just the mossy grass. With the new displacement manifold in hand.
The captain will sort of like gesture to the party with the manifold and sort of carry her voice a little bit. Right, hurry it up. We've got geese. Come on.
Geese.
Is that another human idiom?
No, it's actually just walk quickly.
We should probably get there.
So after a few more minutes have passed, you, of course, have all reunited as an away team. And I think Nabak, you're probably going to go immediately to fixing the shuttle. I mean, I'm just going to hazard a guess here.
Yep.
All right. Well, Nabak, very important role for you. I need a daring engineering, difficulty of 3. And you do not want to see complications on this one.
How much momentum do we have?
You have 3 at the moment.
I think, can I assist him with this?
How are you assisting?
Just helping with other connections.
Sure. You may assist with your own daring engineering.
Okay, can I...
Just spend every single
Would
one.
my starship construction help here?
It would, yes.
Okay.
All right, there's 1. There's 3 total. Very nice. So, with that many successes, you are able to install the displacement manifold replacement, and sure enough, the shuttle begins to hum to life. Now, when that happens, Mifor sort of gets a little bit giddy, and he kind of laughs in an entirely un-Vulcan way. But he says, this... I really hope this isn't a dream. I really, really hope this isn't a dream.
Well, I wouldn't blame you for thinking it was, what with the appearance of actual geese. But no, this is very much real.
Oh, no. The geese are actually the benign appearances. I've seen Klingon targs. I've seen Andorian weasels. There's animals pretty much all over the universe here.
Have you
Yes.
seen any other sapient life forms? People that we might also be able to rescue? Other members of your crew?
Let's just say that the Salat aren't the biggest animals here, and that the rest of my crew, yeah, it's not great.
A grisly fate.
That's a pun. I haven't heard a pun in 233 years. It's
Well,
just
you're
as terrible as I remember it.
They haven't gotten any better.
Hmm.
Right, Thrall, Kanath, if you would please, take us back to the ship. We'll do any further research on this world tree, maybe from a distance.
And perhaps could we attempt to stop the blaze going on? And he gestures.
No, I was thinking of just leaving.
Well, fair enough. I mean,
Of course we're going to stop the bloody wildfire. Yes, absolutely.
All right.
But I can't do it.
All right. So, if I understand correctly, you are wanting to force field it to death? The blaze, anyway?
Pretty much, yeah.
All right. Well, Troll, I think this falls to you. I'm going to need a control or daring plus security. Since this is probably the last roll of the night, I'm going to make it a difficulty 4 with my remaining threat.
may I assist?
You may. You may assist with your daring engineering.
Would shipboard tactical systems count as focused?
You are manipulating the force fields and shields of the vessel, so yes. And you have 3 momentum right now.
If there's a complication and there's a goose stuck in the force field generator.
Oh boy.
So I'm going to spend all 3 to roll 4 dice.
Okay. Again, I need to see 4 successes here, which you get just as well. Very nice. So, Nabak, as you regulate the power flow from the back of the shuttle, Kanath sort of brings the shuttle in over the blaze, and then Troll, you manipulate the force fields of the vessel to more or less how they do it in TNG, where they literally just form a force field then suck it out of the air. You do basically the same procedure where you snuff out the flames, give it no more further oxygen to burn, and you stop the blaze in its tracks. And at this point, I think Mephor goes, "Oh, wow, that was much easier than I had anticipated. It seems I have a lot to learn about new technologies in use these days."
Well, have I got a great sight for you, because you're about to be on the latest in Starfleet ship technology.
Excellent.
After a full medical evaluation, of course.
Oh, yes, of course.
And maybe some therapy.
I, 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 there's logic in that, yes. All right. So, as you all leave the planet behind, we're going to skip ahead maybe about 6-7 hours, so the end of Alpha Shift. And we're actually going to go to the captain's ready room, where, Captain, you're just sort of reviewing the logs that are, coming in from everybody scanning the surface, trying to get as much data as possible, when there is a chime at your ready room door.
Come in.
And in steps your first officer, Lieutenant Commander Sarid.
Number one, what can I do for you?
I just wanted to inform you, sir, that the preliminary scans are over. We have a few departments requesting additional sensor time, but I came to ask you, what are we doing about this planet? Are we going to quarantine it? Are we going to simply leave it as a curiosity? I'm curious as to how you wish to handle this incident, if you could call it an incident.
That's a generous phrasing. From what I understand about these scans that have been coming in, what this entity is doing is not immediately destructive, now is it?
As far as we're able to tell, no.
Well, as far as I can tell, then, this, let's call it an organism, is just trying to live its life out here in a harsh space. And as far as I'm concerned, traipsing on it in any way, any further, would be more like insulting it than studying it. So I suggest we simply leave this planet as it is. We'll mark it for a future study, perhaps, if we can do so in a, let's say, an elegant, sort of humane way, and otherwise move on with our mission.
Very good, sir. And Sarid turns to leave and then stops and turns back and goes, I also got a request from the botany labs. They want to take a sample to see if they can grow their own little portal tree thing. Should I approve that request or deny them?
I want this to be perfectly clear, number one, when I say absolutely not.
Understood, sir.
But don't tell them I said that. Or I tell you what. Tell them that I was vehemently against the idea, which is true, but that you fought me every step of the way, and by God, you believe in the folks down there in the botany lab, and you tried your best, but I was just such a bloody bitch about it that there was nothing you could do.
I think I can do that quite well, Captain. And before I leave, I did want to once again apologize for taking the initiative a little too harshly on our previous mission, if you could call it a mission.
Call it a mission, and I have already noted your insubordination in my logs.
Ah, lovely. I look forward to the inevitable court-martial.
Oh, we're skipping that. We'll just launch you straight into space.
Ah, I hear it's lovely around Ryza this time of year.
Well, we'll find out, won't we?
And as Sarid does sort of do a little bit of a elegant motion with their back legs and arms, and they exit back onto the bridge, we sort of see Kaya sitting alone for a moment. And I'd like to imagine like you just sort of look out the window and you just sort of see not only the lovely lights of the planet, but we sort of just zoom out until we see the ship itself.
Here's what I'd like to do before that.
Go ahead.
I would like the captain to take a look outside at the tree and the planet and everything, and then get up and then move over to the jazz piano and play a sort of kind of slow jazzy tune that in some sense you kind of feel is inspired by the sort of the sight, the aurora borealis and everything that's going on.
I love it.
That is the accompaniment as the camera moves away.
I love it. I love it. In fact, go ahead and take 2 momentum and make sure you remember you have 2 momentum for next session. But yeah, that is where we're going to end today's little episode of Star Trek Kasumi. What'd you guys think? Was that little bit more exciting than Mr. Prote was. I hope it was at least to your liking.
It was great.
It was very enjoyable.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I must admit I'm left with a number of different questions as to how the I guess the offshoot of the world tree is growing on that satellite, possibly through portals, its purpose, what that intelligence actually entails. So some interesting unresolved mysteries.
Mm-hmm. And that's very deliberate.
It's unfortunate because we're not really a science vessel, and so if we were, I would feel compelled to stay and really drill into those questions. But I don't know. We got to move on.
It's kind of the peril of a 5-year mission where you can't spend too long in one place because there's just so much out there to explore. So
yeah.
Identify it, tag it, and leave it for the ships that follow behind us on our
definitely
grand mission of exploration.
Indeed.
Warn them about the geese and be on our way.
I love how it was just a throwaway gag, but I'm glad it actually became something because I'm not going to lie, the Salat actually had pretty beefy stats. They would have gone after Kaya because the leg thing, they're going to notice that weakness. So it was a good thing that we actually leaned into the silliness a bit to actually have some form of distraction. So I think it worked out. Now, again, I do apologize for the French accent, but if you know me, you know I can't do accents for shit. So,
well, you're going to have to contact the embassy and, deliver a formal apology on your own. Like, I can't do that for you.
Right. Yeah. I'll just have to go down there next Tuesday.
Yes. And they
All
will
right.
welcome
Well,
you.
this is where...
It's okay. There's no reason for that. Everything is fine.
No, that's more like French or French accent.
Yeah,
not
would you
Quebec.
like have a baguette, oui, etc. I am dressed like a mime.
Oh my God. All right, this is where I'm going to end the YouTube recording before Matthew kills somebody. Twitch, stick around because we're going to raid somebody. But YouTube, see you later.